The J. Michaels Show.
Welcome to another episode of The J. Michaels Show. Hey, before we get going, I wanted to take a moment and ask you to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to wherever you're getting this podcast, be it audio or video. Be sure to hit that subscribe, follow, like, comment, anything that you can do to help support the show. That really helps us a lot. Thank you. My guest this week is Hungrytown. And we're going to meet Ken and Rebecca in just a second. So everyone, please, while you're hitting that subscribe button, welcome Ken and Rebecca. Hello, Hungrytown.
Hi, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, good to see you again.
Well, likewise.
I know.
It's been a minute. It's been a while. I saw you first in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. There was a church that had a coffee shop in the back, and you guys came to play, and I was just totally enthralled with your music. I've followed you since then. We've met up here in Texas several times since then. So where are you right now?
So we're at our house in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
West Townsend, Vermont.
West Townsend, Vermont.
Okay. And you guys tour all over the country. I mean, where have you been recently?
So we just got back from a little tour of Eastern Mass and Rhode Island. So we did some shows in Newport, Rhode Island, and we did one on Martha's Vineyard. And that was really nice. And we were actually also celebrating our 31st wedding anniversary at the same time. So,
congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. 30 wonderful years, as Baskin Robbins used to say.
And the latest album is Circus for Sale.
Oh, look.
That's us.
Yeah, wonderful album. Hey, I even have a Hungrytown sticker.
Oh, that is so cool.
Awesome.
I know. That's
a
absolutely
badge
cool.
of coolness.
I know. So tell me about this new album.
So we wrote and recorded a lot of the songs during the first couple of years of the COVID pandemic, and we couldn't travel, obviously.
We were home a lot.
And so we had a lot of time to do some writing and recording. And so a lot of the songs are kind of focused on nature because of where we live in Vermont. We're just kind of in the middle of the mountains and kind of away from civilization, and we were able to just take that time and focus on nature. And so a lot of the songs reflect that, but I think also the sort of unsettled feeling that was there at the time because of this very sad and unsettling thing that was going on in the background. So I think a lot of the songs sort of combine those two elements.
Now, Rebecca is talking about it from a songwriting standpoint,
The themes,
but as and the themes and all that. But as the producer, I was thinking more of I wanted to be kind of psychedelic. I wanted to evoke the period from 1966 through 1972, and I wanted it to have that sound. We use a lot of vintage equipment, and for digital recording, a lot of vintage type emulations of old tape decks and old sonic effects. And I think overall it does sound like something that came out of the past.
Mm-hmm. You during that time you learned a lot of different instruments to play, didn't you?
Well, Ken has always played multiple instruments. I think
I've dabbled.
And so that was always there. We actually used the opportunity to get some new instruments for our studio. We bought a harpsichord
and a vibraphone.
Yeah,
and a couple of nice amps.
Yeah,
just things that we've been meaning to get, but we weren't really home enough to really do much. And so it was nice to be able to settle down and with some of this, some of this old gear, and play around and see just try to make some nice sounds happen. I mean, nowadays, I think so much is done digitally and synthetically. And even though we record digitally, we make all the sound sources authentic. So a digital recording, but everything else is real.
Actual instruments. Everything is a real instrument.
No digital instruments were harmed.
Do you go into a studio or do you have a studio at home?
Well, we have a barn next door, and we've been, which is always in a state of semi-conversion to a recording studio.
And it's also Ken's man cave.
And man cave.
We all
Gotta have a man cave.
Yeah. Well, do you carry all these new instruments on the road with you as well?
I wish.
I know we do carry a few instruments on the road.
We carry a couple of guitars, a mandolin, and a banjo, and a bunch of harmonicas, and that's really about it. But there's only so much you can physically, bring on the road with you. So we decided many years ago that we're going to stick with those 4 main stringed instruments, and what we can't, if it's on the record, it doesn't have to be on the in the live performance. I think our philosophy is work with what you've got.
Right. Would you say that this album is different from your previous albums?
I feel like they all have differences and similarities as you go through it. I feel like maybe there was a little bit more of a psychedelic influence on not just on the production, but on some of the songs, the way that they were written. And maybe that was just how we felt at the time. Like everything felt kind of like a little trippy at that point. Yeah. And
it's one of those things when we're making the record, we always think, oh man, this record is so different from the last record. It's got nothing in common at all. It's like no one's going to be able to get it because it's just so different. And then later on, as you're approaching completion, it's like, oh yeah, I guess this is kind of a continuation of the last album.
Yeah.
And I heard, I don't know if this is urban legend or not, but when the Beatles made their albums, they had kind of a rule that they would do 3 songs from the past, 3 songs from the future, from the next album, and the rest of the album would be that album. And I think we've always kind of had that in the back of our minds. You want to have some, at least a few songs that recall the previous record, and maybe some, like a couple, 2 or 3 that are going in a
different direction,
kind of a new direction, and the rest is whatever the record is.
All right, you mentioned psychedelic. Why psychedelic for this one?
A lot of the songs that we were listening to at the time were like psychedelic folk and pop songs from the late 60s, early 70s.
So some people give digital streaming a bad rap, but I got to say that we kind of love it because we've been exposed, especially if you're out looking for it. You can just find the weirdest crap out there that you never could have heard back in the days of strictly vinyl. I mean, unless you're just a crazy collector. But now you can just, really, if you're looking for it, you can find amazing material and we did that constantly, just always learning, always discovering new things, old things, and new things as well. And you just realize it's like how little you actually know. It's just, isn't that the story of getting older? It's like, oh man, I thought I knew something. It's like I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
So, for our audience, just so those who don't know you, describe your music. Describe your genre, your music.
Rebecca?
Oh boy, this is a tough question.
After all these years, that's still a tough question.
After all these years, we still have a hard time with that one. I think I started off. We both have a lot of different influences from before we became Hungrytown. Ken used to play drums in all these different sort of psychedelic garage bands. And so drums and keyboards were his first instruments, right?
Mostly drums.
Mostly drums. And then and I started out singing jazz standards and just sort of torch songs in New York. So it's like, I think like our music has been like just along a continuum of all our different influences and different times that we perform.
But that's why we're kind of hard to peg.
Yeah.
Because we come from so many, we have different backgrounds, Rebecca and myself, but we like all kinds of eclectic music.
Yeah.
I mean, going down to like Baroque and madrigals and classical and impressionist. And we can endlessly name drop and be
Right.
so pretentious. It's kind of amazing.
But I think if you had to put it under the larger umbrella of folk music, I think that is probably a pretty good place to put us. We sing and perform on all acoustic instruments. The music is kind of softer, especially the performed version of it. We rely a lot on kind of songs that have maybe sort of recognized kind of traditional song structures and do a lot of harmony singing. So all of those things kind of belong to folk music, I think. But even that is a very big umbrella in terms of what falls.
But I have to say, we kind of gravitated to overall the folk genre. And in some ways, it was almost imposed upon us because back when we were living in New York City many years ago, a very good friend of ours was tragically misdiagnosed. She had cancer, but it was discovered much too late. And before she died, she gave us her nylon string guitar and a stack of folk records. I already liked folk music. I already had some, but just having and a request that Rebecca sing "I Know You Rider" at her memorial, and so that just kind of set us in a direction together, because before that we weren't really performing together as a duo at all. I had my drummer thing and Rebecca had her torch singer thing. But this gave us something to focus on. Right away, Rebecca took that guitar and just started plunking around on it. Since it was nylon string, it was easy to play.
Yeah.
And so physically, it encouraged learning. And she learned, right away, because she was always a singer, but she was never an instrumentalist. And we were listening to all these folk albums. I started getting Rebecca folk records for Christmas and birthdays and whatnot. And I got her. Did I get you Sounds of the South?
Yeah,
I did.
And Harry Smith Folk Anthology came out around that time.
Right. The CD version.
Yeah, and I just remember going on this kind of deep dive into that music. And especially the Harry Smith Folk Anthology was really sort of a revelation, because it was this collection put together of all these recordings from the late 20s and early 30s by this guy, Harry Smith. And it was just recordings that he liked. And some of them were old parlor ballads by the Carter family, and some were blues, and some were these mountain ballads. And they just had this really ghostly quality of like old weird America. There was like
as opposed to new weird America,
which is even weirder. But I think what I liked about them was the combination of otherworldliness that happens sometimes in old folk ballads, and also the kind of day-to-day struggles that are also depicted that people go through. Just
that's
struggling
part
to
of
survive.
Part of the folk thing.
And I think I'm still completely entranced by that when it comes to folk music.
But the thing, the operative fact here is that she was listening to all this and dabbling on the guitar, but then she started writing songs, which I totally didn't expect. And they were amazing songs. I thought, wow, you've got to try to get these together and start doing open mics and start seeing if you can get gigs. And she did. And really, I think it's just like the same year or the year after, the same year that she got her guitar, she started doing gigs.
Yeah.
And
went right out.
yeah. I have to commend her. She was very brave, because New York's not always an easy place for that.
Yeah.
And also all of her friends knew her as a jazz singer, and so, everybody was a little taken aback at first.
Like, what are you doing?
It's like, where's the Billie Holiday? Where's the stuff where's the, the Nina Simone?
Which I also love.
Yeah. And so, and then, but but then she started doing her own folky stuff,
Yeah.
and it worked out pretty well. And then not too long after that, we got ourselves a one of those 4-track cassette deals that
Mhm.
everybody had, and a SM58 microphone, and she started, and I started recording her, and that eventually led to her first solo album in 2000 that was called Rebecca Hall Sings.
Uh-huh.
And do you want me to keep going with this?
Well, I was just gonna, ask you, and you've kind of touched on it there. But how did the two of you meet, and then bring your genres together?
I guess it just happened, like Ken was saying, kind of organically, because I just started writing these songs.
Well, how do we meet?
How do we meet before that? Yeah, so we met, I think, thanks to the music scene. We both knew each other through the music scene in New York at the time. And I was friends with his ex-girlfriend.
And she's actually the one who years later died,
Yeah.
and gave us all this stuff. But this was years before.
Yeah.
And
They're pretty close.
it's just one of those times where Rebecca had dumped her boyfriend, and I had just been dumped by my girlfriend, and so we, for many years, have been calling it a confluence of dumpings. That's what brought us together. And that was like what, in the early 90s?
Early 90s, yeah.
Giving away our advanced
I
age.
know.
So, at what point did the two of you get married?
94.
94, yeah.
And you've been together touring since then.
Well, no, we lived in New York and we had day jobs. There was no touring back then because just the cost of living in New York was so high that wasn't even a remote possibility at the beginning. And plus, it took some time for the duo to kind of start coalescing. Because like jumping back just a minute, when I said I got the 4-track machine. So we eventually put together this collection of 10 songs called Rebecca Hall Sings. And later on, and that record was originally designed to help Rebecca get gigs, right? Something that we'd print out on our CD-ROM.
Just
how
like a demo.
all the computers had a CD-ROM
Yeah,
drive that
burners.
you could record onto burner, yeah.
Yeah.
And we would send those out, and we also sent a few to the radio stations in that region. There is a radio station called WFMU, which is in Jersey City, New Jersey, right across the river from New York. It was like an independent station. It's still around. Kind of low power, but massive listenership because it serves that whole New York area. So for a little independent station, it was widely listened to. And they absolutely went nuts over this first demo record that they got their hands on. All these DJs, they just started playing it again and again and again. And right away, Rebecca found herself with all these gigs and was
Not really experienced enough.
not really with hardly any experience. And all of a sudden, musicians were scrambling to play in her backup to make a backup band for her because she was just like
Just kind of threw it together really quickly.
And that's like, oh, gee, there might be something going on here. Maybe we should see if we can develop this further. And that was kind of the first inkling that maybe someday we might be able to take this more seriously and even think about, heaven forbid, leaving New York and quitting our day jobs. But that wouldn't happen for another few more years.
Yeah.
And then, of course, since then, you've literally toured the world. You've completely moved through the UK, playing at different places. How did that get going?
So early on, right around the time of Rebecca Hall Sings album, we had a friend who, Dawn Eden, wasn't it? And she was friends with a guy that was running a club called Come Down and Meet the Folks.
Well, it was a series.
It was a series.
And it moved around in different
in London. And so we somehow got an invitation to perform as part of that series. So I went with my band at the time to London, and we played a couple of gigs there, and just got a really good, warm reception from people. And we just, in a lot of ways, playing there, it felt a little bit like coming home. And it was just something I've always really loved. British folk music as well. So yeah, it just felt like a natural thing. And we've been touring there pretty much every year for at least the past 10 or 15 years.
Every year since
yeah.
2010.
2010, yeah.
Except for 2 years off for COVID.
Yeah.
But even then, we still played a few times even before then. But
Yeah.
it's been an annual event ever since.
Yeah. So what you guys usually do is you start out East Coast, travel all the way to the West Coast, I guess get on an airplane, go over to Europe, tour through Europe, come back, and then cross the United States again.
We did that once.
It's different every year. It's different every year.
Who sets that up?
Yeah. Well, I've been doing all the tour booking for all this time, and yeah, I'm just a control freak, so I like to plan these things. And we did do a couple of years of the way that you described. And one year we actually in the winter we went across the bottom half of the US to California. This is back when we had our camper van called the Blue Meanie. We left our camper van parked in Southern California, and then we flew to New Zealand and did some shows there. And then we went from New Zealand to the UK and did a whole bunch more shows there, and I think in Northern Europe, and then flew all the way back to the West Coast.
And then continued the tour from the West Coast across the northern part of the US. So that was
a little nuts.
Yeah, it was several years ago. Our tours tend to not be so all-encompassing. Now they're a little more. When we're home, we do these smaller tours, like we just did of the Northeast. And earlier, like in early January, we do 2 months, kind of to escape some of the Vermont winter, and also because you can't do shows around here in the winter on a regular basis because they get canceled because
snowed out.
Yeah, they get snowed out. So we go down to Florida, then we start heading west through the southern states. Usually, if we can, a few gigs in whatever Mississippi or Alabama or Texas, and make our way usually to New Mexico, sometimes California. Not as much as we used to, but we want to start going back. And then stay in New Mexico for a while because we love it and they have hot springs. and then work our way back doing shows on the way back to Vermont.
Yeah.
And usually about 2 months.
You mentioned, I remember the Blue Meanie. I've seen the Blue Meanie yet.
You've seen it, that's right.
Yeah. What happened to the Blue Meanie? Tell us about the Blue Meanie.
Oh, it kind of...
Well, I can tell you about it. We got it in 2006, not too long after leaving our day jobs in New York. We basically sunk whatever money we had into it irresponsibly. No, responsibly because it's what we wanted to do. It was a custom Sprinter camper van, and now everybody's got one. But back in our day, it was a very, very new radical thing. Solar panels on the roof. Had the rear floor raised to keep all of our gear, our sound system, all of our instruments were like underneath the rear floor, and the whole rear deck was elevated, and so that's where our bed was, and it had a little kitchen, and it had a bathroom, and had a little office with a printer, scanner, photocopier, combined unit. Because in those days, you needed to have a home office because you had to send things by mail in those days still. Not everything. You could, and not every place even, used email all the time. You still had to mail out physical copies, and, the post office was a regular partner of ours. And so that was the Blue Meanie. And we used it for many, many years. Finally, in 2019, we had to retire it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you the differences between a UK audience and an American audience. Is there a difference?
If there's anything.
We've been playing all over the place for many years, and I think overall there's not much difference. Not really.
Yeah.
I think maybe in the UK they might have a better understanding of the British influence in our music, the
Hmm.
Celtic influence, and they seem to be overall more folk oriented than in
Yeah.
the US. But I would say the response is not that different. We've always had very very
Yeah.
enthusiastic audiences, and no matter where we've
I
played.
feel like the same songs kind of resonate with people.
Also, we don't really change our setup depending on where we go. For us, it's like the same set of songs or what we play everywhere.
Just
And yeah, I think the whole thing about differences between the audiences is mostly urban legend. I don't think they're that different. Well, one thing I can tell you, however, that in the American South, if there's people are much more likely to take up the first row.
that's the place where people are not afraid of the front row.
Yeah, some places more than others, but in general, that they like to sit closer and be a little more interactive. Whereas in the Northeast,
They're
it's
more
like
shy.
the further away, the better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
If they could be in the next room, that would be ideal.
That would be better.
The Further West tour, there's also an album, right, called Further
Yes,
West.
Further West, yeah.
And
Named after that tour.
and yeah, tell me about how the inspiration for the songs on that album.
So we've been doing the Further West tour for many years. It started out just gradually adding a state here and there until we got to the West Coast, and then we went from there, as we were saying, to New Zealand, and we just kept like pushing a little bit further. And I feel like that was a little bit the idea of the record. We wanted to kind of talk a little bit about our travels, but also the reasons that other people have migrated or traveled. We did Woody Guthrie's song "Pastures of Plenty." We covered on that album, and that's a song about migrant laborers. And there's some songs that are just about driving, and then there's some songs about like traveling in your mind.
And there's something special about West.
Yeah.
Because West is kind of West is the great direction. It's like it's like people just seem to travel westward. Like to the New World, they came west. And once they were in the East, they all like moved westward toward toward the gold rush and toward California and the Midwest, and that was always like the great direction. And we kind of wanted to get that feeling across by calling the album Further West. Always always the pushing westward, trying to see what's over the next hill.
Yeah, and there's a kind of romanticism to it, but I think on a couple of the songs, it's like you might have this romantic idea about what you're going to encounter, but it might not be like that when you get there, or things are unexpected, or there disappointments along the way as well. So,
How many albums do you have out now?
So we have 4 as Hungrytown, and then I had 2 under my name, and even like an EP. So I guess like 2.5. So I guess that's what, 6.5.
Six and a half.
6 and change
Between the two of us.
between the two of us. Yeah.
Yeah. What are the Hungrytown albums that are available now that someone could go and
Okay.
hunt
So
down
if they
and get it?
if they went to our website hungrytown.net, they could order all of the albums.
Well,
from
the first one that came out in late 2007 was called Hungrytown. It was self-titled.
Yeah.
And that one has a much more, I guess, Americana bluegrassy feel. At that time, we're spending a lot of time down
Virginia.
In Virginia, we had friends there that were in a bluegrass band, and I guess we met we met some people at a folk conference like a few years earlier, and we remained friends. And when we first started out, we just did a lot of shows in that part of the country, which is why it kind of and a lot of those bluegrass players played backup tracks on Hungrytown.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. They were so good. But the subsequent album was called Any Forgotten Thing.
And that's just us.
That was only Rebecca and myself,
Yeah.
and one of our neighbors sang background vocals on a few songs, and that was in 2011.
Any Forgotten Thing.
Any Forgotten Thing,
And Further West, which we've just discussed.
yeah, 2015.
Yeah.
They were all 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And then along comes Circus for Sale, which was, I guess that was like 9 years.
Uh-oh. Their
Circus
phone.
for Sale. Did it lock up again? I'm still seeing you.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, we got a phone call, but
We got a spam call.
we got a spam call. Yeah, and the three earliest albums are all on our record label called Listen Here Records, and Circus for Sale is on a record label out of California called Big Stir Records.
Do you like doing cover songs or do you prefer your originals?
I think we usually do songs because they have some kind of personal relevance to us, whether it's that we wrote them or we pick a cover song just because, we're really taken with it, or traditional songs. Sometimes you never know what's going to kind of grab you about a song and pull you in and make you want to sing that song.
But I should say, for many years, especially when we were starting out, we did a lot of cover songs.
Oh, yeah. When
And
we
a lot of
started.
trad songs. And eventually, they just started getting replaced by our own. In any given set, you only have so much time. And then we started thinking, well, it's like, why do these other people's songs when we've got our own? And so we just basically, it's just out of economy, just started doing mostly our own.
Because you only have so much
And
time.
on our records, when we do a cover song or a trad, we always try to find songs that we love, obviously, but where we have an idea where we could do something different. Because otherwise, it's
Just copying.
It's karaoke.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a question individually for each of you to answer. Who do you consider the biggest influence on you?
Do you want to start?
No, you start.
Okay. These are so hard because I always have
There's too much to choose from.
There's so much to choose from. On our most recent album, we did a cover of a song by Bert Jansch, and he's probably one of my earliest influences in terms of things that I liked to listen to as a guitarist. Scottish guitarist, actually, that started a band, Pentangle, back in the late 60s, early 70s. And I also love Pentangle. I love Nick Drake. I love Sandy Denny, Vashti Bunyan. I love Pearls Before Swine. There's
Gene Clark.
Gene Clark is another huge one. Leonard Cohen. And I could probably go on and on with all of these these different songwriters and performers. And I think what I respond to, as I was saying earlier, I also love Billie Holiday and Nina Simone, and as singers and as musicians. And I think a lot of the music draws me to it because it has like a real emotional component to it. And I think that's what I connect with the most is just that sort of emotional drama in music.
And what about you, Ken? What about your influences?
What's funny? Originally you said your biggest influence, so I was thinking about one, and it's weird because it's not entirely, it's not what you might think, but actually, probably overall, my biggest influence is probably Phil Spector, because because I love listening to audio production, and I just found him so interesting because to me he was the first producer to kind of use the studio. Almost as an instrument.
Yeah.
He made things sound a certain way. He didn't necessarily want, he was never looking for a pure sound or for a clean sound. I was just going to say that my influences are a little more pop and rock influence. I love the British Invasion, all the stuff produced by like Shel Talmy,
Yeah, I was gonna say Shel
Pentangle. Shel Talmy is a producer. And Fairport Convention, especially early Fairport. Yeah, Vashti Bunyan, basically what Rebecca said, and a ton that I can't think of right this second.
Yeah. The
Oh,
Kinks.
The Kinks, I love the Kinks. How much do I love the Kinks? A lot.
yeah. Yeah. Do you have a particular brand of musical instrument that you prefer?
Well,
Martin,
Martin guitars.
Yeah.
we are official Martin players, you know.
Yeah.
You can
Uh-huh.
find us on their website.
Yeah, we're on the Martin website. There's a little Hungrytown page, and we play exclusively Martin guitars. I have an OM21 Martin, which is OM stands for orchestra model, and I love it. It's the only guitar I've ever really played, and I am like completely monogamous to it.
We do have other instruments
We
though.
do, yeah.
And yeah, I have three vintage Ludwig drum kits from
Hmm.
61,
Yeah.
65, and 67.
Ah,
Yeah.
proud
And
of those, huh?
because I used to play drums, but unlike a lot of musicians, I never got rid of my old gear. I still have it. And of course my beloved Hammond B3 organ, which I've been dragging around since I was a teenager. I got it in '78, and it was obviously used even in those days. But I've dragged it around from all the different places I've lived, and now it's in our barn, right across the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're performing on stage, of course, there's just two of you and you don't have backup. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
use backtracks that you've recorded yourself,
No.
or do you
It's
just
all
do an
organic.
acoustic?
We just play everything.
You just
And
do an acoustic version.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I said, you work with the tools at your disposal.
Yeah. So we
It,
have like live arrangements for live for these songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of been our philosophy since the beginning. It's just like, if what you've got are four stringed instruments, see what you can do with those. In the studio, we have a lot more toys, and we use those.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Sounds good. Now, if someone wants to pick up one of your awesome CDs or stream some music, where would they go?
They could go to our Bandcamp, or the easiest is just to go to our website, I think.
Yeah, and also we're on the streaming platform, so please, if you're on Spotify, please give us a follow. We really appreciate that. I don't think people realize that. Every single tweak to the algorithm in your favor, the better. It's not easy for independents nowadays, and so yeah, please give us a follow on your favorite streaming platform, and that's
And if you wanted to purchase the albums, you just go to hungrytown.net and there's a little buy tab and you can
yeah,
buy
or go to if it's Bandcamp or you have a favorite place you like to go, then do that. If you're on YouTube, we're all over that too. Plus, on YouTube, there's an extra bonus from our Hungrytown channel because last year, a great animator named Peter Parlagreco made a cartoon of a
Tuesday
song
song.
called Tuesday Sun, which
Hmm.
is on Circus for Sale, and it has Rebecca and I as cartoons, even more so than we are
Even
in
more
real life.
cartoonish than we are
They
regularly.
did a wonderful job, and so we encourage people to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Tuesday Sun.
the subscribing, following, all that, it's very important also to me as a
Yes,
podcaster.
exactly. Yes, exactly.
That's the way we make money now is through
Yeah.
Yeah,
through
and
that kind of
goodness knows
contribution.
it's not easy.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just another quick question: a record label, would you consider it, or do you like to be independent?
Well, no, well, as Rebecca has mentioned earlier, our latest record, Circus for Sale, is on a label.
Hmm.
They're out of Burbank, California, and they're called Big Stir Records, and they've been really awesome.
They've helped us so much, and they're really, really lovely people.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Rex Broom and Christina Bulbenko, and they're also a band themselves called the Armoires.
yeah.
We like it because anything that can help you get your music out there, the better.
Right, right. And do you prefer being independent or on a label?
Label.
Yeah.
Label. They help you. Yeah.
It's hard because
There's so much to do.
being an independent musician, it's like it's too many hats.
Yeah.
Right.
It's too many, and we love the music part, and I love the production part. I don't love the promotion part.
Yeah.
It's something that some people are just naturally gifted at, and neither of us have that. And Big Stir, they're much better at that than we are.
Yeah.
So,
It's nice to be taken in hand and that they can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is next? Where are we going to see you live? What's your tour schedule look like this year?
So if you go to hungrytown.net/concerts, you can see our whole summer schedule. Most of it, we're going to be staying around New England and doing shows. And then we're actually heading over to the UK in September. So you can, if you just, you can check out all the concerts there.
yeah, on your favorite concert website, whatever band's in town. Spotify also has our concerts.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty easy to find us.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Or we will find you.
You'll hunt them down, huh? Do you still do libraries? You had a lot of library connections.
Yeah, that was something that we discovered early on that was just a good venue for our music. And more libraries in the years that we've been doing this have started doing concert series. And they're just really wonderful listening rooms, and they're open to the public. It's people from all walks of life, all backgrounds are there, all ages.
It's free.
It's free. So it's just great. Yeah, we really enjoy them.
Yeah, so check your library schedule also. You may see Hungrytown on it. Well, Ken...
Or tell your library.
Yeah. Yeah, contact your library and tell them you want to have Hungrytown appear there, and they'll contact them. Well, okay. It's been great talking to both of you. I really appreciate doing this interview with me. We will put links below to your website and so that everyone can find you, your social media, if you're on Instagram or Facebook. We'll put all those links there.
Great.
But once again, thank you very much for being my guest.
Thanks for having us.
It's always great to see you, Jay.
It's a real pleasure.
And keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will. Okay, we will see you next time on The J. Michael Show.
Bye, Jay.
Goodbye.